Why on earth would you spend your hard-earned money on tax software when a completely free, totally headache-free method is sitting right there online? Seriously, if you've been dreading tax season or you're stressed about hidden fees popping up at the last second, you are absolutely in the right place. Welcome to this explainer, where we're going to break down exactly how you can file your Alabama state taxes online without spending a single dime. Look, filing taxes can feel incredibly overwhelming, right? Especially if you're a beginner trying to figure this all out. But here is the really good news. The state of Alabama actually wants you to file online, so much so that they've created or partnered with systems to make it absolutely free for qualifying residents. Today, we're taking away all that confusion so you can get your taxes done, get your refund faster, and most importantly, keep all of your own money. So here is our roadmap for today. We'll cover Alabama state tax basics, who files for free, a step-by-step filing guide, common tax filing mistakes, maximizing deductions and credits, and finally, what to expect after you file your taxes. Section 1, Alabama state tax basics. Okay, let's dive right into this by covering the absolute basics. Alabama uses a graduated income tax structure, and the rates are actually relatively low, ranging from just 2% up to a maximum of 5%. But because the income thresholds are quite low, a lot of taxpayers hit that top 5% bracket with fairly modest incomes. So the first big question you probably have is, do you even need to file? Let's look directly at the statutory gross income thresholds from the Alabama Department of Revenue. If you're single, you absolutely must file a return if your gross income for the year is at least $4,500. If you are married filing jointly, that threshold bumps up to $11,500. But here's a pro tip. Even if you fall below these limits, it is still highly recommended that you file anyway. Why? Because that's the only way you can secure any refunds of taxes that were already withheld from your paychecks. When you do get ready to file, you're going to encounter one of three main individual income tax forms. Form 40 is your standard return for full and part-year residents. Now, if your tax situation is incredibly straightforward, you might actually be able to use the Form 40 Easy, which is the short form. And if you don't actually live in Alabama but you earned income there, you'll be looking at Form 40 NR for non-residents. Section 2, who files for free? Let's see how this builds into the most important part of this explainer, finding out exactly who qualifies for these free electronic filing pathways. You essentially have two totally different tracks you can take here. Think of it like a fork in the road. On one side, we have the My Alabama Taxes portal, commonly called MAT. This is run directly by the state. It's 100% free for all qualifying Alabama taxpayers to file their state return, no matter how much money you make. The catch? It only does your state return. On the other side, we have the Free File Alliance. This option lets you do both your federal and state taxes together in one software package, but, and this is a big but, you must meet strict adjusted gross income limits to qualify. So the crucial point here is that if you want to use the Free File Alliance to knock out both federal and state at the same time, you've got to pick the right partner. For example, OLT.com is free if your adjusted gross income is $51,000 or less. TaxSlayer is a great option if your AGI is between $19,000 and $89,000, as long as you're 67 or younger. There's also My Free Taxes, which is a fantastic self-preparation program powered by United Way that actually uses a TaxSlayer engine. The huge takeaway here, make absolutely sure you match your income to the right software so you don't get charged. Section 3, Step-by-Step Filing Guide. Let's assume you want to use the state's direct, universally free option. We're going to walk through the exact procedural mechanics of getting registered on the My Alabama Taxes portal. It is way simpler than you might think. Here is your exact 4-step playbook. First, go to the MAT website and click Create a My Alabama Taxes account, making sure to select Individual Income Tax as your account type. Second, the system needs to know it's really you, right? So you'll enter your Social Security number and your adjusted gross income from a prior year's Alabama return to validate. Third, check your email for an authorization code so you can securely log in. Finally, once you're in your dashboard, simply click the link for your tax account and hit File Return to pop open your digital forms. But wait, what if you're a beginner or a first-time filer and you literally don't have a prior year AGI to validate your identity? Don't panic. You can easily request an official online filing info letter directly from the Alabama Department of Revenue. They'll just mail you a letter with a unique sign-on ID and access code. This lets you completely bypass that AGI requirement and set up your account without breaking a sweat. Section 4. Common tax filing mistakes. Now that you're all set up, let's shift our focus to the hidden traps that trip up a lot of online filers. so you can avoid them entirely. A major issue to watch out for is known as data transcription risk. Remember how we talked about the My Alabama Taxes portal only doing your state return? Well, that means you have to file your federal taxes somewhere else first, and then manually type your federal data, like your AGI, into the Alabama state portal. Please take your time here. A simple typo when copying numbers from your federal return over to your state return can trigger an automated audit or just completely delay your refund. And here's another huge trap you need to avoid. If you decide to go with a Free File Alliance partner like Taxpayer or OLT, you absolutely must click through the official IRS Free File portal or the Alabama Department of Revenue's dedicated links. If you just Google the company name and go directly to their regular commercial homepage, you might get kicked out of the free promotion and get hit with surprise upgrade fees right before you hit submit. Always use the official government gateway links. Section 5, maximizing deductions and credits. Okay, you've dodged the traps. Now, let's reward your diligence with some highly actionable ways to maximize your savings. Alabama actually has some very unique tax features you really should know about. Check out this great news. If you worked overtime recently, listen up closely. Alabama has a special temporary exemption for overtime compensation received between October 1st, 2024 and June 30th, 2025. That overtime pay is entirely exempt from Alabama state income tax. Pretty awesome, right? Also, if you're retired, Alabama offers fantastic treatment. Social Security benefits are fully exempt from state income tax, and military retired pay is also not subject to state taxation. For sure, make sure you're claiming these if you qualify. Section 6. After you file your taxes. You've filled everything out, claimed your exemptions, and finally hit submit. Let's guide you on exactly what to expect as you cross the finish line and wait for your refund to drop. Keep these critical dates on your radar. April 15th is your standard filing deadline. However, due to Hurricane Helene, Alabama taxpayers were granted special disaster relief that actually extended the deadline to May 1st, 2025. Now, if you still can't make that date, Alabama automatically grants a 6-month extension to file, pushing the deadline all the way to October 15th. But please remember this absolutely crucial distinction. This is an extension to file your paperwork, not an extension to pay. If you owe money, you still need to pay an estimated amount by the original deadline to avoid getting hit with penalties. Once you're filed, the waiting game begins. But the real beauty of the My Alabama Taxes portal is that it acts as your all-in-one dashboard. You can log right back in to track the exact status of your refund. And if you wake up in a cold sweat a week later realizing you forgot to include a W-2 or just made a silly mistake, it's incredibly easy to fix. You just select the specific filing period, click the Amend Return hyperlink, and you can make edits directly within that digital form. Quick disclaimer before we wrap this up to ensure you're fully protected. Please remember that this explainer is for general informational purposes only and does not constitute official tax advice. If you have a highly complex financial situation, if you run a business, or you just have specific legal questions, always consult with a certified tax professional. But for the vast majority of us with standard tax situations, you now have the exact roadmap. You know how to completely bypass those annoying commercial fees, you know exactly which portals to use, and you know how to safely input your data. Tax season really doesn't have to be a headache, and it absolutely shouldn't cost you your hard-earned money. So you have the tools and the map. Are you ready to conquer your Alabama taxes for free this year? Log on, get filed, and get your refund.